How can you be behind someone who does not listen? Over and above that, someone who will do the opposite of what you advise. This is what I've had to deal with. You feel sorry for Junior? What about me? Have I ever done anything against my son? Have I ever done anything against any other fighter? You are not a reflex fighter, which is what you have now gone to by dropping your hands. That's part and parcel of the reason why, you have decreased in ability as well as your age. So these truths are what I speak. Now, some or a lot may say, well, okay, you're speaking against your son. No, I'm not speaking against my son. I'm speaking about the truth of boxing. I know there's a great deal of people, it seems, out there who are like, well, no matter what your son does, you got to be in his corner. You got to be behind him. How can you be behind someone who does not listen?
Chris Eubank Sr. didn't simply critique his son. He publicly undermined him in a way that may linger with Junior for a long time. This wasn't a case of tough love. It was a ruthless dissection that left Junior's credibility as a fighter in tatters. Senior held nothing back, poking fun at his son's reflexes, picking apart his fighting techniques, and openly stating that age is already taking its toll. Instead of defending his son, Senior mocked the idea of blind loyalty, clearly stating that Junior's arrogance and his unwillingness to listen have sealed his own fate. But it didn't stop there. Senior didn't just express disappointment. He hinted that Junior may be living in a fantasy, fighting a battle he's already lost. This wasn't a typical fatherly letdown. It was a stark reality check from a boxing legend witnessing his own bloodline crumble. The big question now is whether Junior has the ability to prove his father wrong, or if Senior has simply revealed an undeniable truth that's too difficult to overcome.
I felt sorry for Junior because he is a 34-year-old man at the time. He wants his own thing. His father is always going to be the centre of attention.
Yeah.
I think he's right to make his own decisions.
Simon, I see exactly what you're saying, because Nigel has stood back from Connor's career, and Chris Sr. was right in the front at the beginning. And I think it's great that Junior is walking his own path.
So do I.
However, they have had horrendous tragedy in their family.
No one saw it coming. Steve Collins has just shaken the boxing world by pulling back the curtain on the turmoil surrounding Chris Eubank Jr.'s career and the overwhelming influence of his father. This isn't simply about a fighter facing challenges in the ring. It's about a man fighting for his own legacy, constantly overshadowed by his father at every turn. While boxing icons like Nigel Benn have taken a step back to allow their sons to flourish, Eubank Sr. has refused to step out of the spotlight, turning his son's journey into a secondary act. But here's the real surprise. Collins isn't just offering support, he's exposing the rifts within this father-son power struggle. The truth is, Junior has spent much of his career not only battling opponents, but also grappling with an identity crisis that was imposed upon him. Collins also acknowledged the deep-seated pain and personal tragedies that have weighed heavily on the Eubank family, adding even more complexity to this already tangled story. The pressing question now is, will Junior ever break free and prove that he's his own man? Or is he doomed to live under his father's shadow, playing a role he never chose? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
I mean, Ben Jr. and Eubank Jr., they can both fight. They're both very good fighters, but Chris is making it a bigger show and more interesting and drawing more people to see it because of his personality. So it's almost like it's a double-edged sword having him there. He probably is upsetting certain people, but he's definitely bringing more attention to it. And I think he's a big asset to the whole promotion.
Well, for sure,
you can't really knock him too much because he's making it bigger than what it would.
Both Ben Jr. and Eubank Jr. are talented fighters with impressive skills, and there's no question about their ability in the ring. However, Chris Eubank Jr. has taken things to another level by making the sport about more than just a fight. His larger-than-life persona has drawn more attention to boxing, turning every match into an event. This approach has added a unique dynamic, layering the sport with a new sense of intrigue and excitement. While some may not be fans of his style, it's clear that Eubank Jr. is the one bringing the spotlight, creating buzz in a way that no one else quite can. This mix of entertainment and drama is exactly what boxing needs. More eyes on the sport, more conversation, and more excitement. While his approach may frustrate some, there's no denying the impact Eubank Jr. has had in boosting the promotion of boxing. Even Steve Collins has recognized that Eubank Jr.'s presence has elevated the sport in ways it might not have reached otherwise. His influence is unmistakable, and it's doing wonders for the world of boxing.
Junior, I mean, he's stylish and he's skillful. And if that Liam Smith defeat, which worries me a bit for Chris, if that's sort of part of the past, that the rematch was emphatic for Eubank Jr., but it wasn't Liam's night really, and he had an injury going into it. So that defeat that Eubank suffered worries me a bit, but he's fought at in better company, and Conor Benn's got it all to prove. But if there's one guy that wants it more, it's Conor Benn.
Adam Smith recently caused a stir in the boxing world with his straightforward analysis of Chris Eubank Jr. and what lies ahead for him. On one hand, Eubank Jr. undeniably possesses top-tier talent, with a fighting style and skills that make him a formidable contender. There's no question he has the potential to dominate. However, Smith raised a crucial point regarding Eubank Jr.'s loss to Liam Smith, a defeat that continues to hang over him. While the rematch may have seemed like an opportunity for redemption, it wasn't exactly a level playing field, as Smith was battling through an injury. Despite Eubank Jr.'s otherwise impressive record, that loss remains a significant mental hurdle, exposing potential weaknesses in his game. When it comes to Conor Benn, Smith didn't hold back. If there's one fighter who's determined to prove himself, it's Benn. The big question now is whether Eubank Jr. can recover from his past losses, or if Benn will emerge as the one to claim superiority in the ring.
Eubank Jr. is thinking that Conor Benn is going to come out and leave everything in those first 3 or 4 rounds, and if Chris is still there, it could be trouble for Conor. But Conor could knock him out. Barry could be right.
On the flip side, Adam Smith has raised the stakes with a bold prediction about a potential showdown between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Eubank Jr. seems to be betting that Benn will come out swinging early, putting everything on the line in the first few rounds. If Eubank Jr. can withstand that initial barrage, it could spell trouble for Benn. However, Smith doesn't downplay the danger Benn brings to the table. Benn possesses the power to knock Eubank Jr. out, and with the right approach, it's certainly a possibility. Smith even alludes to Barry's take, emphasizing that Benn's aggressive fighting style is one to watch closely. The real question now is whether Eubank Jr. can endure Benn's early attack, or if Benn's knockout power will be too much to handle. The tension is rising, and this fight could truly go either way.
I think Chris is leaps and bounds ahead of Conor. His experience, the guys he's been in with, take away the weight, because, Chris is obviously going to be disadvantaged in there with the weight as well. But just ability, boxing skill set is on a completely different level.
On the other hand, Harlem Eubank is unwavering in his belief that Chris Eubank Jr. is far ahead of Conor Benn. And it's not just about size or power. While much of the conversation centers around their weight difference, Harlem sees the real gap in their boxing skills, experience, and overall technique. Chris has fought some of the toughest competitors in the sport, constantly testing his resolve against elite opponents. While Benn, despite his aggressive style and knockout power, hasn't faced the same level of challenge. Harlem acknowledges that Chris will be giving up some size due to the weight cut, but he remains confident that Chris's experience and boxing IQ will give him the upper hand. It's not merely about raw strength. It's about who can think quickly, adjust during the fight, and manage the pressure. In Harlem's eyes, Chris is on a different level, and when they face off in the ring, he believes Chris will demonstrate why he's the superior fighter. Furthermore, Harlem argues that Benn's lack of experience against top-tier opponents could ultimately be his downfall. He may struggle when confronted with the composure and strategy Chris brings to the ring. Harlem emphasizes that Chris's ability to adapt to various fighting styles is unmatched, making him a nightmare for any opponent.
I think with Chris, this is purely business. This is purely business. I don't think he quite likes him very much.
No.
But I'm telling you now, it's a good thing that Conor's in Spain. Because imagine them two bumping into each other on London High Street on a Sunday afternoon.
We don't need that, do we?
No one needs that, no one wants it, but it's inevitable. So you literally have to navigate your way through these camps and keep these two boys away from each other, because
keep the lid on.
I've been there with this kind of animosity, and I've been there with this kind of domestic rivalry. It eats away at you. It's not nice.
No.
It literally eats away at you. It's on your mind daily. And you just, it gets to it's an intense.
Tony Bellew doesn't hold back when discussing the heated rivalry between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, making it crystal clear that this fight is about much more than just business. It's personal. Bellew emphasizes that the relationship between these two fighters is anything but cordial, marked by years of brewing tension and unresolved resentment. The animosity runs so deep that Bellew insists it's not something that can be easily ignored or overlooked. If these two were to face off in a neutral environment, things could quickly spiral into chaos. Bellew, who has fought with personal grudges of his own, understands how much a deep rivalry can affect a fighter's mindset, distracting them and disrupting their strategy. The emotional weight of such a feud can be incredibly draining, and as the pressure mounts, Bellew warns that the mental strain might spill over into the fight. He predicts that when the bell rings, this won't just be a technical bout. It'll be an all-out battle, fueled by emotions that go far beyond the sport of boxing. The real question now is whether they can keep their emotions in check, or if this personal vendetta will ignite long before they even step into the ring.
There's no honour in smacking someone with an egg. Shouldn't have happened.
How do you think the fight's going to play out?
I'm backing Conor Benn. I know Conor. Spoke to him a few times. Always been a top bloke to me. His dad's a top bloke. His dad's a legend. And I'll be backing him. But it's going to be difficult, as he's already alluded to, the two weight divisions coming up. But it'll also be difficult for Eubank to stay within that hydration clause, I think it is. So it's all to play for both men.
Johnny Fisher isn't holding back and is fully backing Conor Benn, and he has strong reasons for doing so. Benn is more than just another fighter in the sport. He's the son of a boxing icon, carrying a legacy that commands respect. Fisher, having had numerous in-depth conversations with Benn, is steadfast in his belief in Benn's abilities and determination. However, there's a twist. This fight is no easy challenge. Benn is moving up 2 weight divisions, a decision he's fully aware of and has openly discussed. The real question now is whether Eubank Jr. can handle the intense pressure created by the hydration clause. Fisher sees this as a potentially huge obstacle for Eubank, one that could completely change the outcome of the fight. This isn't just another boxing match, it's a significant opportunity for both men to solidify their legacies. Benn has the heart, passion, and raw talent to push through, but it's going to be a brutal battle from the very first bell. Every moment will count, and the stakes have never been higher. The real question is, who will rise to meet the challenge, and who will crumble under the pressure?
No, not yet. I need to see what he looks like on the scales. If there was no rehydration clause, I would pick Eubank, but I need to see what he looks like on the scales first, and then if there's a rehydration clause and he already looks bad, it's going to be a hard night.
Carl Frampton isn't holding back, and he believes Chris Eubank Jr. might be heading straight into a nightmare. The harsh reality is that no one is really talking about the risks here. The weight cut alone is grueling, but adding a rehydration clause into the mix could potentially ruin Eubank's career. Frampton isn't convinced that Eubank will even make it to the ring at full strength, and is waiting to see how Eubank performs on the scales before making his final judgment. Without these extra restrictions, Frampton would back Eubank all day long. But let's be honest, draining yourself before stepping into a high-stakes fight is a disaster waiting to happen. Eubank has always been a machine in the ring, but if his body lets him down before the first punch is even thrown, this won't just be a tough night, it could turn into a one-sided massacre. Frampton sees the warning signs. If Eubank appears weak at the weigh-in, this won't just be another fight, it could mark the beginning of the end. Like, comment, and subscribe for more updates and analysis on the biggest fights in boxing.